Oh, there we go. So we're here again for episode 2 with Barry. How are you today, Barry?
I could not be better to be on this call with you. How are you, Max?
Awesome, awesome. Yeah, no, I'm very good. Just got back from the US, so a bit jet lagged, but going well.
It's always good to go away, and it's even nicer to come back home. I find when you go somewhere even you love, it's nice to come back, have a great appreciation for where you live.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, and it makes you excited for the next trip, whichever trip that might be. So
Well
yeah.
said. Well said.
So today we're going to talk about value-based content for episode 2. So last episode we were talking about the introduction to social media, why it's so powerful, and how you can get started. The next logical episode in my mind would be value-based content, because you got your social media accounts. Now, what are you going to post on them? And
Yeah, absolutely.
I suggest everyone to start off with value-based content. It is so easy and simple, and it's what you and I are doing right now. We're creating value-based content. It's as simple as recording a podcast or recording a chat between two people. You might be teaching someone something over a Zoom and you're recording it and you can repurpose it. And then that's value-based content. It is as simple as that. What do you think?
Yeah, I think I honestly think you're spot on. I think the most important thing of this industry is personal branding, knowing who you are, right?
Yep.
Step one, why you're setting up the social media account and your presence. But number two, if you know who you are, you've got to have a good idea who your audience is or who you want your audience to be. And this is the perfect way to merge the two together, isn't it? Naturally.
Yep. Yeah, no, 100%. And whether that be with EXP, whether you're, agent attraction, you could be providing value to other agents, or you could be providing value to um, homeowners or anyone in your local area. But hopefully it's both of them. But yeah, you just got to figure out, which we won't be able to do for you, but what your audience needs, like what value can you give your audience? What do they want? And how are you going to give that value to them?
And from my experience as an estate agent, as a real estate agent, more to the point, what I always found, so before I joined EXP a billion years ago, I was at a luxury real estate company. Now, where I live in North Carolina is very relative, right? Different from Sydney, different to New York, different to London. But if I wanted to get a $3-4 million listing, I would have to not be advertising and focusing on a $100,000 condo or townhome, for example. And I think that being very niche or knowing who you are and offering value to that. I believe in the law of attraction, and I
Yeah.
certainly believe it in this industry. What you put out, you get back. And I think that's so important. You may have the best story in the world, you may have the best message in the world, but if it's not getting to the right person, who knows who you are and who knows what the message in the story is?
Yeah, exactly. And I think that comes down to relationship building. So when you're giving out value and you're giving out value to your audience that's specific to them, you're actually building a relationship. So that's the start of the relationship. That might just be now they didn't know you and now they do know you. And then it can go from they know you and now they trust you. And then it can go from they trust you and they're actually using your services. So you've just got to
Yeah.
work on that relationship. It's not like one step. I think it's multiple steps and people get caught up with that. But making sure
Well,
that, yeah, go on.
yeah. No, you're absolutely spot on. I think the biggest thing in life, certainly in this property industry, people get caught up on is actually taking the action to do the first step. You
Hmm.
have the best ideas, you have all the ideas in the world, you have the planning, the strategizing, but the first step. So for you, Max, what do you feel that first step is?
In social media, are you talking? Yeah, well,
Yes, sir.
go back to our last episode and we covered it 100% there. Get on social media and not just get onto it because most of people, like everyone's on social media. Start posting value-based content. That's the first step. So,
And what give us an example of what for you, so on as a recipient, someone who's been in
mhm.
property, who's seen property to a high level, as someone who may be a homeowner or thinking to buy or just kind of in that realm, what for you is value? It's going to vary person to person, but on a broad scale.
It could be a range of different things. I think, there's some really great articles on the internet which you can find about, how to stage a home before an open home. These are things that I'm young, so I've never bought a property. I don't own a property, so I'm not, the best to talk about that because I don't know as what a seller would actually, 100% want. But it could be different articles. It could be what else could you do? Talking in front of the camera. So search up on Google different articles, get some ideas, even use ChatGPT to get some ideas because it's basically scraping the internet for you. And talk in front of the camera about that. And that's, your first piece of content.
Well, and I'll go one step further as well. I know a lot of here in, well, really all over the world, doesn't matter where you are. You'll see a lot of agents putting just an article. They'll put a link. Hey, this is really interesting. Say it's springtime here, right?
Yep.
In America. Hey, these are the 5 things you may want to do for spring cleaning. What I would do is go one step further, which took time. Hey, this is an article about spring cleaning. This is my take on the article. So you're adding that element of personal brand. You're adding the element of actually you going one step above and beyond to add value to that. But I do think knowing who your audience is and actually take the step to do that is very, very important.
Yeah.
For me, video is everything. It transformed me from a brand new real estate agent to where I am now. And I think that really does take, a little bit of biting the bullet and kind of backing yourself and doing it. But yeah, I think if you could put the two together, and like you say, the content's already out there. You don't necessarily need to reinvent the wheel. You just need to know what's important to you and your business, and where you want your business to be and who you want that client to be, and just kind of go straight for it.
Yeah, 100%. Because we could give you ideas now, but it may not be relevant to your audience or who you're even trying to target. You might be trying to target someone to join your EXP team. You might be trying to target a homeowner, someone who wants to sell, someone who wants to buy. It all depends, really. So you've got to do that. That's the research you got to do yourself. You got to figure out who they are, what they might want, and then just have a search on Google and just see what other people are doing, see what's worked, see what's ranking high. And I've seen from Gary Vee, he does this really well. He just goes on his phone, takes a little screenshot of an article or a news article, and he'll put it as like a green screen on TikTok, and he'll have his face over the top of it and just be talking about the article with the article sitting behind him. And that would take him 2 minutes. So that's a really good way you can sort of start to do it. It's so easy.
Well, it is, it's just taking a minute to figure out. I think it all comes back to the who, the why, and the what. It's already out there, but it's just taking the action to do it. And wouldn't you say, Max, and I'm going to challenge you on this, for me, consistency is arguably the most important thing on that and on social media, full stop. Because if you do something one-off, that depends who you are and notoriety, if you have a name, but starting off, getting into this, really, isn't it a case of being consistent in what you do and your approach to?
Yeah, it's the hardest part and it's the most important part. It's just consistently ticking away every day posting. So if you give yourself a goal of posting every day, it's just literally the hardest part is just doing that every single day and staying consistent at it and not thinking, oh, I'll just miss today because I don't feel like posting. It's so important, but it's also time consuming. So after 3 or 4 weeks, you're like, I've been doing this for so long. Like, why do I need to post again today? It's like, you just got to stay with it. Keep posting, keep posting, keep posting. And the algorithm will actually work in your favor more than the person who's, posting once, then not posting, then, maybe they leave it a week or two and then they'll do another post for, a few days and then they'll wait again. It doesn't work that way.
Well, and I want to challenge you on that a little bit too. Don't be me. When you get to a level of success or notoriety, whatever one's definition of that is, and then as opposed to doing that, you take your foot off the gas. You don't do the videos. You post once or twice a week like me because you're just slack and ignorant. And that's not the way to go. But going one step further with the consistency, Max, I'd really be curious your take on the variety of content too. I know we'll get to this in more detail later on, but my understanding, not understanding algorithms, is, hey, a picture is great, maybe a text is great, maybe an article is great and a video is great, but doing the same thing all the time is going to stunt that growth and maybe the visibility. Is that right?
Yes. So it depends what content you're putting out there. At the moment, video is everything. So no, I don't mean that. Video is not everything, but video is sort of everything. Like on Instagram, on Facebook, on TikTok, obviously, and YouTube, video is the strongest and you'll get the best, by far the best results on video. But the best results doesn't always mean that your audience is engaged, right? So you might be getting all these views, getting new people, but you've also got to engage your audience in other ways. So photos, if you're a real estate agent, you should be doing lots of videos that can be of yourself, of house tours, of property tours, tips, market reports, whatever, but also post photos of your houses, post photos of you, post photos of your clients. And you can, I've seen some really crafty ones where people get photos of their clients and then they'll put the testimonial over the top with the clients next to the sold sign. Like that's perfect. And it's a good way to mix the different varieties of content so you're not boring out your audience, because some
Yeah.
people don't want to watch videos every day.
No, and I love that. And I think you're right. Some people like consuming content differently, but you can do much like your repurposing, which I'm really curious, honestly, personally, to learn from you about in our upcoming
Mhm.
episodes. You think about it. So if you have clients and they are very thankful for what you've done for them, you have a multitude of ways you can do content in a variety. You have that written testimonial. You can have a
Mhm.
picture with them. You can ask them, if you're really bold and they are too, to get on video and give you a video testimony. So you've got three various things that do the exact same thing, which you can repurpose for different elements, different places, and at different times. The same
Yeah.
content, the same message, three times. It just
Yeah.
hits harder, doesn't it?
Yeah. So you got, you got your photo, you got your video, you can put it on your website as text. You can have it as a review on Google, you can have it as a review on Facebook. Like you've got to start to, with this value content, moving on to repurposing it, you got to start to expand your mind and think, okay, one piece of content that might reach 100 people, but this one piece of content on 6 different platforms could reach 100 people on 6 different platforms, and they're all going to be different people. And it's just the one
Yeah.
piece of content that you've made. So it's like, well, what would you call that? 6xing it. Like it's going 6 times out,
Yeah.
and it's just the same piece of content. You only have to make it once. And posting is the
Yeah.
easy part. You just go onto TikTok, you go onto Instagram, you go onto Facebook, and you just post it. It takes you 2 minutes per platform.
Get over yourself and just do it. You know,
Yeah.
and the thing how I see it now and how I think I wish I saw it as a newer agent is you can control and you are responsible for yourself and what you put out there. But if you're trying to get the vendor, the homeowner, whatever your target market is, if you're trying to reach them at the right time, we cannot be responsible. We truly don't know when their timing is and they're going to see it.
Yeah.
But if we're consistent with our content and our message, we know they will see it when they need to see it, and they become a client, they become a partner, they become whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree with you. And look, this sort of conversation that we're having is more geared towards the newer agent, I think, because a more experienced agent, not always, but will usually have a bit of a bigger following, and they've already got the authority and the connection with a lot of people. But as a new agent, you're just starting out, and you've got to take that first step, and this is perfect for that first step. So someone like yourself who's already been and gone through selling property yourself, it might not be as important or as necessary for you because you're happy with where you are, from what I've seen anyway. But for someone who's just starting out and they want to really expand their business and grow everything, this is a necessary step, and you definitely need to be doing it.
But at the same time, Max, this is a self lesson and message to myself. When you get to a level, I may be, have business now truly all around the world, and that equates to, over $1 billion of annual sales a year. But that's not a valid excuse for me to take my foot off the gas and post a piece of content once or twice a week. The more you do that, others who are consistent, doesn't matter if you're brand new, if you're in the same market, you're doing what you're supposed to do consistently. Again, because it is a relational industry wherever we are in the world, I may be a quote better, more experienced, more successful agent. But if I don't have that relationship because I'm not building it, then I'm going to lose the business. It doesn't matter even if you've been in the industry for a month.
Yep. 100%. And it all comes down to how much you want to grow, because some people are they get to where you are now and they're happy, and that's just it. But if for some people who don't and they want to take it like 10 times further, you're already starting off on like a higher base than the average agent, and it will take less time, less effort for you to leverage that, because you already know lots of people. You've got the ability to create a lot of content as well, because you're always in and out of meetings. You're always able to record stuff. You just say, hey, I'm going to record this and put on YouTube and Instagram, and I'll tag you in it. So it's like your level from where you are now. So if you are watching this, if someone's watching this and they are at a similar level, it can really leverage your current business as well.
Just be super strategic about it. Remind yourself why you do what you do. Money aside, the money will come and go. But just remember, if you're on a mission, you have a purpose to do something. Just because you get to a certain level or benchmark, actually, that's probably when you should double down on doing what you're doing as opposed to take your foot off the gas. So with that said, what's your kind of, in this section, in this conversation, Max, what's your biggest piece of advice or biggest understanding that you could kind of share with anybody, regardless of their level of experience or success?
Oh, okay. I would say what, like, say I'm going to give you, okay, two things to work on for advice. Let's under advice. I'm going to give you two things to work on. I think number one, you need to be consistent, as we talked about before, and you've got to know your audience, as we also talked about before. They're the two things. So when you are consistent with your value content, you're able to work. I know it sounds weird, but like work the social media right. You know, the social media is going to work for you rather than you working for it. And then knowing your audience means you're creating the right content so that people, when they watch it, it relates to them. And it's not like, what is this? I don't even want to see this. Like, I'm going to unfollow you because I don't want to see this. Because you can be consistent with the wrong content and it's going to take you nowhere. And then you can have the right content and not be consistent, and it's also going to take you nowhere, just in a different way.
When you put it that way, actually, it's a very good way to put it. I think you're absolutely spot on. I think the two key elements there are the most important too. You know, consistency in whatever you do, even if you do it badly, if you're consistent at doing it, you're a lot more likely to get the business or get the results. And if you're very good at what you do, but you're inconsistent, and getting, again, the message is only as good as the consistent person who's putting it in front of the right person. So I think if you merge those two together, one way or the other, you really can't go wrong.
Yeah, well, if you've watched this and you're now committed to starting your social media, those are the two things you should be working on, which is we've drummed on about over the last two episodes. So you should know that's important. And if you look at anyone, look at, you know, the big people in the name, regardless of whether you like them or not, like Gary Vee, Grant Cardone, those sort of people, it's all the same thing. Consistent, they know their audience, and they're creating content to please their audience.
Well said. Again, there's so much you can get. There's so many rabbit holes. There's so many tangents you can go down. But if you just remember what's truly important, the differences of the businesses and everything, the geography, the language, the technicality is going to be different. But I think if you stick to those two, you are onto a winner. Well said.
Yeah, well, look, the first episode, we've gone across starting it. So people know that, okay, I've got to start it. Number two, we've gone value content. They know, okay, I've got to do value content. Now people are going to start to think, oh, I don't have time for this. This is a lot. Like, it takes a lot of time to make this content. The next episode we're going through is going to actually show you how you can be efficient at making the content and how you can then use that efficient content that you've made and repurpose it everywhere. So it's going to save you time. So I think this series that we're going down is going to really help a lot of people.
I couldn't agree more. You know, the next episode's the one I'm looking forward to taking some notes from Mentor as well. So I'm really looking forward to it. And again, I think ultimately what everything is going to come down to is if you truly are committed to doing what you sign up for, you just got to bloody do it. But if we can give you some insight in terms of some things that work from experience, from expertise along the way, then I think we're in a good place. Thank you, Max.
Yeah, no, I think a lot of people are going to find a lot of value out of this because it is hard to take the first step and you might think, oh, is it even worth it? And if this just pushes a few agents across the line, then that's, helps those agents potentially transform their business.
Couldn't agree more. What I'm going to do with you, Max, I'll say it publicly, but just for you, I'm going to share with you in the next week or so the first video I ever did. It was so unprofessional. It was me holding my phone. I had a little post-it note above it from the first video. And from that, where it's taken me now, just from doing it, I think you'll get a kick out of it because everyone's got to start somewhere, don't they? And just sometimes having that humble beginning where you did start, knowing where it will take you, I would do it again in a heartbeat.
Yeah. No, it's scary to start talking on camera, especially if you haven't done it much before. I think this whole Zoom thing has helped a lot because people are getting used to talking to people with their face, being present. So that helps a lot. The more you talk over Zoom, the more you FaceTime people, the more you talk to people over video chat, it actually helps you in being able to video yourself and talk. Because, like, I'm happy to walk down the street with people passing me with my phone talking to it. But I know a lot of people would just crawl into their shell if they had to do that.
Oh, definitely. And there's technicality as well. Like back in the day, I remember, when you're looking, you got to look directly at the camera, not at the person you're speaking with or not at yourself. And that all comes with time. But just doing it, COVID, for the detriment it's obviously done for the human race and the illnesses and the deaths, what it's done from a real estate perspective, from a technological advancement perspective, I mean, Zoom is what some of us have been using for years prior. Other people would be saying, "What is Zoom? What do you mean video?" So I
Yeah,
think just naturally it's become our everyday habitat and a working and personal factor.
yeah,
I'm, the 1% who doesn't have an iPhone, but everybody else who does, they're FaceTiming all the time. So
yeah,
I think the last few years has given people a confidence, whether they understand it or not, that, like you say, looking at your phone is not actually as scary. If you remember the purpose, you remember the why and your vision of why you're doing it in the first place,
yeah,
it's a lot less scary and intimidating than you probably feel it is.
yeah, yeah. No, at the end of the day, nobody who is a decent person is going to judge you for talking to the camera.
Well said. I
Yeah,
think that's a great ending point. Well said. You're right.
yeah, yeah. No, I love it. Thank you so much, Barry.
Back at you, Max. Thank you.